When you're first starting out on Fiverr, as soon as possible on day one, sign up to be a seller, because it's really an important thing to level up on Fiverr, because it takes time to level up, actual physical time. So let me explain to you seller levels and what to do on each level. So when you first start out, you have no level. You're at ground level. You're just a seller. A basic seller can create 7 gigs. And you can create a couple of gig extras and all that. We'll talk about gig extras later in the course. Don't worry about it. But the idea is you're able to create 7 gigs. And every gig, which is, you can think of a gig as a service you provide, different service. It means people can find you in 7 different ways. The very first mistake new sellers make is that they only create 1 or 2 gigs. And so that immediately limits the number of ways buyers can find them. But the standard practice is on day one, right now, register, create 7 different gigs for 7 different services. They may be very similar service, but phrased in a different way for SEO purposes, or they might be different. Like maybe one is logo design, another one is website design, another one is maybe mobile app design. Who knows? I don't know what you're planning to sell, but just different services or different phrasings of services so that people can find you in different ways. And then when you get to level 1, you see you need to complete at least 60 days as a seller. Meaning if you start being a seller today, which is what I'm suggesting to you, if you start being a seller today, then you only have to wait 60 days. If you become a seller tomorrow, then you have to wait 61 days. You see, so the sooner you become a seller, the longer you have to wait. That's why I'm urging you to do it today. Now, the rest of the requirements are pretty basic. Earn at least $400. It's not that difficult in 60 days. I mean, if you're pretty active, you will probably make $400 and complete at least 10 orders. It's not that hard. If you find a way to make sales, it's not that hard to get some orders, because you really get 60 days. It's 2 months. And you have to have a 4.7 rating. It's, again, not everybody has that, but it's not that hard as long as you provide a good service and you care about your clients. And the rest of the requirements are really easy to get right. For example, don't receive warnings on your account, like don't violate any policies. Make sure you deliver 90% of your orders on time. Make sure you have a good response rate to people who message you. That's fine. That's very doable. The hard part here is waiting 60 days. But if you do, you see you get 10 active gigs. When you first start, you get 7 gigs, which is 7 ways people find you. But at level 1, you get 10 active gigs, which is really the most important part of being level 1, more gigs. Then for level 2, you get to have 20 gigs when you level up. And 20 gigs is plenty, because there's 20 different services you can offer. So this is plenty of gigs for most people. And this is where you get all the perks, like having more upsells you can make, and so on and so on. But the most important thing is that it takes time to level up. You see, level 2 seller, you have to have 120 days. That's approximately 4 months. So it's not immediately. And then this top rated seller, that's if you're handpicked. Not everybody gets to be a top rated seller. Some people wait years and years to get this, and it's somebody on Fiverr staff has to decide that you're great. We can't control this, but we can control getting up to level 2. And it starts with, first, create your 7 active gigs today, become a seller today, so that the countdown to 60 days and $400 and 10 orders starts now. So before the next video starts, make sure you are a seller right now so that the time starts. And before the course ends, make sure that you will have created your 7 gigs. You don't have to create your 7 gigs now, because during the course, I'll be giving you a better idea what your gigs should be, how to write them, all that. But at least right now, make sure you're a seller. Signing up to become a seller on Fiverr is pretty easy. If you're not sure how to do that, I'll show you right now. So this is a dummy account. You see, my account, on my actual Fiverr account, I'm already a seller. So I couldn't show you how to become a seller there because I'm already that. So I made a dummy account just to show you. So here I'm like a beginner Fiverr person. And for everybody who's only like a buyer, you have this option on top, become a seller. You click that, become a seller, and they show you this page. You click become a seller, and then you go to continue through all the steps. They give you a little bit of training, what makes your Fiverr profile successful, like putting your name and your face there with a picture, taking the time to create a nice profile, making sure you're credible by putting your links on your profile. I'll be showing you how to do that throughout the course, but they also want to make sure that you know this. That you click continue. Now they also tell you what not to do. This is important, like don't provide any misleading information. And maybe the most important one, don't request or take communication or payment outside of Fiverr. They really hate that, and they will come down very hard on you. Now, a lot of Fiverr sellers do just that. We're going to talk about that because it's a big part of Fiverr. Fiverr prohibits that. Sellers go around this. It's a big issue on Fiverr. We'll be talking about that in the course, but at the moment, take what they say as 100% truth. You want to be very careful of going around Fiverr, especially when you're just starting out, because if you get warnings, you'll get banned and all your work goes to nothing. Anyway, you click continue here. So basically, you just learn what it takes to be successful. Now you click continue. Then you provide your name, profile picture, description, languages you speak. I'll do this with you just in case that you're confused about anything. You'll know what to do. So your first name should be your actual name. I'm just going to put my not actual name because this is a dummy account. Then your picture. Then you put a picture, a professional one, of you if possible. Then your description. There's a minimum of 150 characters to 600 characters. So you can't write too much. What you want to do is say like, I'm an expert in logo design or whatever you're doing, right? I'll make this a little bigger for you. So I wrote a basic description, like 10 years of logo design and web design. This is completely made up. I don't even know how to design logos, but this is just to give you an example for how a professional one would look like. So like 10 years of logo design and web design, obviously that would make you stand out. If you just learned how to do this yesterday, that would not be so great. You can still put that there, but ideally put your best skills, and you can say you have experience working for startups or Fortune 500 companies and you specialize in some specific skills because people might see that. Then you give English, like in my case it would be English just because it is English, and you say proficiency, fluent, and you add that, and then you just say continue. Your occupation, so let's say in my case it would be graphic design. You would pick whatever that you want to do here. This will be where you appear in the categories you worked for, and then you say you did graphic design for like, let's say a couple of years, or maybe because you want to stay consistent with what you wrote previously there, you want to say like maybe 10 years, and you can add new skills, new occupations, different, but we're not going to do that here. And then you can add your skills, like let's say design, graphic design, expert, and then you want to add more skills and more skills. We're not going to do that here just because there's no need for that, but you can, they'll give you suggestions. You can say Adobe Photoshop, expert, add, right? So they'll give you more skills and you can keep adding the skills. Education, same thing. So let's say Bachelor of Engineering, San Jose State University, graduated 1 million years ago, and you want to add that and all your other certifications and everything like that. Personal website, you can say that. If you don't have one, that's also okay. You click continue. And here they're reminding me that I needed to choose 2 to 5 things. So I'm going to choose maybe flyer design as an additional one. Then I'm going to click next. Then you want to connect your social profiles. You don't have to do that, but it's good to do that, especially if those social profiles display your skills. For example, if on Twitter you talk about design and it's all about design, then connect your Twitter. But if on Twitter you're talking about your favorite sports team, then there's not a really great reason to do that. Then you want to click next. You'll have more of a chance to fill this out later. And then you say continue to the next gig. And in my case, they're saying, well, it's like 30% complete profile. So here's what I have to do: connect your social networks, confirm your phone number, and provide your certifications. So I'm going to go back and do that. In my case, I don't want to connect my phone number because obviously this is not a real account I'm going to use. So I'm not going to do that. But in your case, just go through the steps and then go to creating the next gig. And throughout the course, I'm going to be showing you what to do when you are creating your first gig. So we'll pick up from there. I want to show you in the end, once you fill out your profile, how your profile should look like. And in the end, you'll have videos uploaded with every gig, and you see you'll have a lot of gigs like I have. And on the left side, if you look at it, you'll see you'll write a nice bio about yourself, and it will have some metrics about you. An important metric is average response time, when people message you, you want to respond quickly because it actually shows up right here. And that matters to buyers. The way you can do that is I have the Fiverr app and I get messages on the app. And wherever I am, even if I'm on the go, I can get messages and I can answer. So it doesn't take a lot of my time. And really, you just need to answer once. What they really track is the first response to a person. They're not going to track every possible response in the ensuing conversation. So I just try to respond relatively quickly, definitely within 24 hours to everybody, but at least respond once. If they keep writing to you and writing to you, that is not going to go into that measurement. So that's what you want. Then you want a description about yourself, the languages, your linked accounts, your skills are important here, education, and that's it. And then what's important is that all of your gigs that you create represent services, and each service has like SEO keywords in the title, right? Like here's SEO strategy, that's this gig. Then marketing strategy and marketing plan, that's this gig, and so on, like affiliate marketing coaching and so on and so on. So that's what I did, because the way people will find you is by searching those keywords. So if we look at the marketing plan keyword, I'm just going to type it here and we'll search. And at some point on the first page, I should be here. This is me. And sometimes I show up higher, sometimes lower. I kind of bounce around the first page. But what's important is that over time, you see, I have a lot more reviews than my competitors, like 349. But at the same time, look, the starting point is very reasonable, $15. Even all the less established competitors are, almost all of them are more expensive to start. So obviously the price is what people can see and the number of ratings and reviews. So mine are almost entirely better, and I have a relatively professional looking thumbnail that comes from the video. But if you look at it, most people actually don't buy the $15 version, because when I click this, you'll see that it only starts at $15, but really it goes up at different price points, and people can buy gig extras and different packages and so on. So this is just an entryway, but you want to make your entryway easier. The mistake I see sellers make is they start their account, they have no reviews, and they create expensive gigs, which is not a good look. If we go back to the search results and I see this person starting at $100, they only have one review, you don't know what you're going to get, you know? And also this person, they haven't leveled up yet. You see here, this level 2 seller, your seller rating matters. So that's something you do in the beginning. You kind of set a low price, and you can keep the price low in the beginning just so that it looks more attractive for people. Who do you think people are going to choose, the $95 service next to me or the $15 service? Obviously, all things being equal, they're going to explore the $15 service first, and then everything else second, just because it's cheaper. And obviously the only other metrics are a lot of reviews, which you're going to get over time, and you want to maintain a high rating as well. So that's really how you want to maintain your profile appearance and branding so that it looks professional. With this video, let's begin talking about promoting your Fiverr gigs. And most gigs, and this is very important, most gigs are found and purchased after search. So SEO on Fiverr, maybe you've heard of Google SEO, but we're talking about on Fiverr SEO. People actually searching for stuff on Fiverr. That is going to be how most of your clients should find you and buy from you. And in my case, all my gigs, they have keywords inside their titles. For example, we're going to talk about, in this example, we're going to talk my marketing strategy and marketing plan gig. So it shows up for this marketing strategy. I'm going to refresh the search. And if I scroll down, it's on the first page here somewhere. Here I am. And if I search for marketing plan, then this gig should also show up somewhere here. See, it's right here. And if I do an experiment like marketing for business, this gig appears on the second page here, as you can see. So what I did is, if I click on this, I put a lot of keywords into this one title. I will create a marketing strategy. You see, I rank for that keyword. Marketing plan, I rank for that keyword. And then marketing for business. See, the last word is business, first word is marketing. So I got a lot of keywords going on here. And so I'm able to come up for a lot of searches. That's essentially the very first thing to realize, because a lot of people think like, well, should I promote on social media, or should I do the YouTube, or what should I do, or how do I promote, and I don't have an audience. People have these kinds of questions, and you want to boost your initial orders and initial reviews from some of your own audience. We'll talk about that. But at the same time, long term, the right thing is that you align your gigs for search. So what we'll do is we'll go into my account and we're going to edit that very gig, and I'll show you what's going on with all the things that I'm doing. So this is my title, and you see Fiverr also gives you tags that you can put into here, and you see promote business, marketing strategy, marketing ideas. All these are keywords I'm specifically targeting. Then I chose a category that's relevant. Also, we talked about the main title. Now there's also a keyword field for the SEO title. You want to put your keywords here as well. I'm not going to save or change this, obviously, but what I am going to do is we're going to go into the description, and your keywords in the description also matter. So you want to put those kinds of keywords here as well. See, like online marketing, I have it here. You want to make this read naturally, but at the same time, you want to use your keywords. See, I use the keyword, I'm going to help you create an ideal marketing plan. That's the main keyword. And if you use the word marketing plan too many times, like I use it here again, and at some point, Fiverr will give you a little error and say, hey, you're using this too often. Like you're repeating the same keyword too often. Just don't do that anymore. But definitely repeat it at least a couple of times here, at least once in the title, and make sure that it's here in the tags. That will be what's called your on-page Fiverr SEO. So your gig will be essentially set up for SEO. After that, you'll of course have to focus on making it rank higher to outcompete your competitors. We'll talk about that later in the course, but this is really the beginning. And when you create all of your gigs, starting with your first day, when you create your 7 gigs, think of the keywords that you can use. So if you don't know what keywords might be good for you, we'll be talking about that later in the course. But just as a starter, I want to show you a little trick that will give you a very good foundation for it. Let's say we're discussing something about marketing, right? You want to understand which keywords you can use for marketing. Well, if you just type it into the search, Fiverr actually gives you auto-suggest suggestions: marketing for business, marketing plan, marketing strategy, social media marketing, Facebook marketing, and so on and so on and so on. They also give you these categories. These categories are also ways people find gigs, but they're less common in terms of people actually finding services. The most common is search, and then people browsing categories as well. So you want to accurately categorize your gigs when you create them, but really you want to make sure that you get your keywords. And this is really the first place to get keywords. So if you're doing logo design, okay, logo animation, logo for business, minimal logo design, Twitch, whatever, right? Logo for gaming, you get a lot of ideas for keywords. So when you create your very initial 7 gigs, at least start to use the keywords they're suggesting to you. The main problem with these keywords is that if you go for logo design, obviously it's an incredibly competitive space. You know, like the first guy has like over 1,000 reviews, which means he probably got like over 2,000 orders. And here's another person with over 1,000, and also right here it tells you that there are 76,000 services available for this. So basically you're competing against 76,000 other listings, which will make it extremely competitive. So it wouldn't be a great idea to only target this keyword because it's going to be very competitive to stand out. But at least this is what you would consider the beginning of your SEO keyword research. And in the next videos, we're going to go deeper into researching your keywords for your Fiverr gigs. In this video, I'm going to give you a keyword checklist for Fiverr that you can use to determine which keywords are good. If you're already familiar with SEO, this might be basic, but I cannot assume that everybody taking this course is familiar, so I have to explain the basics. So let's go over how you should decide which keywords you should target. And the keyword should be somewhere in the middle of not too competitive, because if you get into too competitive a niche, like logo design, that's quite competitive. It's hard to stand out. So it shouldn't be that competitive, but it should also be not so uncompetitive that there is no demand. You gotta find niches that have that balance. It's not too competitive, but there is still some demand. That's what you want to look for, and you literally look for it by going on Fiverr. You look at that search and you see, what are my competitors like? How many competitors are there? That's the initial research for that. Then you want to use a combination of your long tail and short tail keywords. Long tail meaning there's a longer phrase, And short tail means it's a shorter phrase in the same gig title. So for example, a gig title can be logo design for a local business. This has the word logo design. That's the short tail, very competitive keyword that you would hope to rank for one day. But if you don't, you've got another keyword in there, logo design for a local business or logo design for business. So you see, you have a couple of combinations of keywords. Logo design will be a short tail keyword, logo design for business or logo design for a local business would be the long versions of it. The long versions have less demand, but they're less competitive. And this way, you actually are able to target all of them in one gig title, which is perfect. Now, the last thing I'll mention is that it's really important to not just randomly get keywords, but keywords that brings in good clients. What do I mean by that? In case you get clients who get a logo, and maybe they're cheap clients, and maybe like they're only spending like $10 or $15 to get a logo, and really they don't prove to buy a whole lot of other things from you. Maybe then it's a waste of time to create such cheap logos, and that money that you make from it is not a lot of money. So maybe this actually doesn't bring good clients. I don't know. It could be the very reverse opposite, where they get a logo, then they need website, then they need flyers, then they need something else, then they need photos. And so maybe they spend $1,000 with you long term. That's a good client. And it's something you would test partially from your knowledge of the industry, partially after experience selling the gigs. But really, the ideal keywords are the ones who bring clients who ultimately end up spending a lot of money with your business. Now, of course, every gig will have clients that just buy once and that's it. But some gigs have relatively many clients that go on to buy many, many, many other things. And the keywords that bring those clients, those are also very valuable keywords. So you don't have to have a lot of clients. You just have to have valuable keywords. So that's the checklist of what to look for in a keyword before you decide to target it with your gig title. In this video, let's go over the Fiverr search engine ranking signals, things that you should do to make your gigs rank higher, because on day one, you're going to rank very low for the searches. And the things I'm going to cover in this video are the things that you should focus on, and they will help you rank higher, higher, higher. And keep in mind, Fiverr does not tell us the proprietary algorithm rules that they have. These are only approximations. People like you and I, we're not privileged to know the actual secrets of the algorithm, and the algorithm does change from time to time. But if you focus on the things that I'm going to tell you in this video, you're going to be always on the right track. So the first thing is obviously the number of orders, your total number of orders, and your increasing numbers of orders on a gig. If the gig is being popular, then of course Fiverr is going to rank it higher and higher. In the beginning, it's really hard to get orders, I know. Beginning is always the hardest. So don't look at established sellers and see, oh my God, they have thousands of orders and I can't even get one. That's the easiest way to make yourself feel bad. So the beginning is going to be hard. Don't worry, we're going to talk about strategies in the beginning. But generally, as long as you're getting orders, and the more orders you get than competitors, then that's going to work to your advantage in the search. Obviously, you also have to maintain gig average around 4.9 or 5 stars. The higher, the better. On Fiverr, the reviews are very much skewed up. So you definitely do not want to be below 4.8. On other platforms, 4.8 is fantastic. On Fiverr, it's not so amazing. Also, average revenue per order is important. The more money you make, the more money Fiverr makes, because they take a proportional cut. So of course they want people who make more money to get more orders. No brainer. And a percentage of people who leave a nice review, obviously you want good reviews, but you want more people to leave good reviews. For example, if half of your buyers leave good reviews, but 90% of my buyers leave good reviews, then obviously I have a better ranking signal because I have faster rate of getting reviews and a bigger proportion of people leaving reviews. Now, there are a lot of ways to increase reviews. A lot of it has to do with how you close your gig. A lot of it has to do with how you deliver the gig and obviously the gig quality itself. Later in the course, when I show you the scripts to use to close the gigs, those scripts will help you increase the number of people who leave you nice reviews. Another ranking factor is people leaving you tips. This helps you in a couple of ways. First, obviously, this increases your order size. And again, Fiverr takes a cut from your tips, which is kind of weird, but they do. So they make more money when you get tips. They make more money, they want to rank you higher. And obviously, tips increase your average order size. And as far as I understand, tips are actually a ranking factor themselves. I ran an experiment where I used to have a gig for a very competitive keyword on like page number 10 for its keyword. And then I focused on asking everybody who bought that gig to leave a tip. And just that change alone brought that gig up to page 5. I didn't change anything else, but just I made sure that a lot of people left tips. So that's something you can do. And I'll be showing you scripts that help you increase your tips as well for when you close your gigs. So let's just continue. Now, another thing that's important is your gig conversion rate, meaning there has to be a high percentage of people who buy your gig after they see your gig. And you might ask, well, how high? What's the percentage? And obviously in every niche is different because there's no ultimate number. It just has to be bigger than competitors. And the bigger, the better. I'll be showing you how to increase conversion rate with a number of factors. Some of them we've already covered, like making your gig attractive in a number of ways. And we'll keep touching on that as we go through the course. Also, of course, don't have any profile warnings. Don't break any rules on Fiverr. Make sure you have a nearly 100% reply rate. That means when anybody messages you on Fiverr, any potential clients, you have to reply within 24 hours to everybody. You don't have to reply continuously, but you do have to reply. The first reply does have to go out within 24 hours. And the sooner you can reply, the better. You don't have to reply to their second and third message, but just make sure you do reply quickly to the first message. Also, make sure you have no late gig deliveries. All your deliveries are on time. And minimize your refunds. You will have some refunds. There's no one on Fiverr who doesn't have any refunds. Refunds are an important part of Fiverr. First, to keep bad buyers away. Sometimes you just want people to go away and you'll pay them to just go away. But if people are not happy, sometimes giving a refund is better than taking a bad review. There's ways to mitigate that. So refunds are sometimes useful. Too many refunds are bad. So minimize your refunds. So those are the ranking signals. And as we keep on going through the course, I'll be showing you techniques for how to maximize each one. This video is an introduction to the next section of the course, which is going to be all about Fiverr gig creation. What we're going to do is create attractive gigs that make people buy. We're going to go over everything that you should have in your gig that makes people buy it. It will increase your sales conversion, and that's going to directly increase your revenue, and it's going to boost your Fiverr search ranking because obviously you'll have more sales and a higher conversion rate. So we're going to talk about how to write your gig titles and create attractive gig descriptions. So we're going to be covering sales copywriting a little bit and a little bit about sales. And we're going to be doing all this with Fiverr SEO in mind and boosting your gig sales conversion in mind. Sales conversion, if that term is not clear, all I mean by that is just increasing the percentage of people who buy your gig after visiting your sales page. So let's get right into it. In this video, I want to talk to you about something called AIDA, and it's an acronym for a 4-step process for sales, and it's very widely applicable. Whenever you're promoting anything, especially if you're a beginner, try to think of this AIDA. So let's go over this letter by letter. The first letter is attention. You want to grab attention. You usually do this with attractive headlines, attractive titles, email subject lines, sales pitches, promises of big benefits. Because if you promise some tremendous benefit that a person actually wants, that's going to go a long way to them clicking on your link, to them opening your email. Whereas if it's very mediocre, like they're not that interested, it's boring, they're just going to ignore it. So you want to grab attention, and everything starts with that, because if you don't grab attention, the rest of your sales process doesn't even happen. After AIDA is I. I stands for interest. You want to build interest in that person to whom you're trying to sell. What are they thinking? They're thinking something like, what's in it for me? Am I going to get something out of this really? And is this trustworthy? Can I trust them? And you want to build trust by explaining how your service or product works, its details a little bit, and your own credibility as the seller or creator of it. Are you qualified to have created it, to promote something? And in the beginning of the sale, you just want to promise benefits. That's the attention. And you don't want to get into too many details too soon, but after you get the attention, you build up the interest by getting into the details just a little more. Not too many details, because too many details can actually backfire, because it might confuse people, or it might just frustrate them, and who knows, or it might bore them. So you want to progress into the details slowly. They don't need to know everything about the ins and outs of your product or service, but they certainly need to know a little bit more to see if they still want it. As they're going through and as they're building their interest, what you have to do is turn that interest into desire. That's sort of like when interest becomes strong, they start to desire your product or service. Desire is when they are thinking about it. They are imagining themselves using your product or service and getting those benefits. And when they start thinking about it and desiring it, it's like they're convincing themselves that they need it and want it. So your job is nearly done. The way you build desire is usually by reinforcing that attractive headline with really inspiring images, or even sometimes using terms like, imagine how good your life will be after you do something, after you lose weight, right? And the person literally starts to imagine, because you just ask them to imagine. So they start imagining how good their life will be. And of course, if they see it, they'll want it, right? If they picture themselves reaping the benefits. So they start convincing themselves that they want it, and your job is almost done. Then you just have to do the last A of ADA, which is action, call to action, get them to buy or sign up or whatever. So in everything you do in sales or promotion, think of it through ADA. It's a really helpful guideline for you to make sure you're doing the right thing in the sales process, not going too fast, not going too slow, and having your potential clients go through it on their own time, not skipping steps. Because if you do some of these in reverse, your client might not be ready for it. But if you do them in the right sequence, that's the ideal flow of your sales cycle. In this video, let's talk about how to write a Fiverr gig title that is attractive. And I'm going to give you a checklist of things that you have to do in a title for your gig. And of course, you only have 80 characters or less in which you can write your title. So you cannot accomplish everything. Like you cannot write everything. So there's going to be a balance of things that you need to accomplish. So you have to use SEO keywords, short tail keywords, and long tail keywords. So of course, the short tail will be maybe logo design, and the longer version of that, logo design for a restaurant. And an even longer version of that will be logo design for an Asian restaurant. Okay, so those are the variations. And of course, the longer tail, your keywords, the less competitive they are, but they also have less demand. So you got to take care of that. You got to do that research, but you got to combine that with make the promise of the gig some really great benefit that makes it compelling for people to buy. And in case you are in a competitive niche, you have to have possible differentiation. So an example of a possible differentiation would be like right now in the design world, there's a thing like flat logo design. Okay, that's your differentiation. You make the best flat logo, or you make the best 3D logos. So that's interesting, right? So now if you are a 3D logo design for a restaurant, you've got a lot of keywords in there and interesting differentiation. So potential buyers might like it. Now let's look at an example of my gig. Here's a gig that I have ranking pretty well for the keyword affiliate marketing. And you see, again, if you just put like affiliate or even just affiliate without the word marketing, it will give you some ideas like Amazon affiliate marketing, affiliate link promotion. So I could have used that. I didn't use that because my gig is specific. My gig is unique in this bunch. Like I just do affiliate marketing coaching. That's my differentiation. So I don't actually do the affiliate promotion because I don't believe in those gigs. Like I don't think they're very effective, but I do coaching to help people get it right and have the right strategy, which is kind of the premise of my entire business, because I'm more of an an educator. So this gig, you'll notice it has a short title, even though you can have a longer title. If you can fit everything into a shorter title, there's still some benefit because it's easier on the eyes and it's more readable. Because look, this long title, it doesn't even show up entirely, right? You see that dot, dot, dot. So it doesn't make sense to people. And if it doesn't make sense, how can it be attractive? Like, let's read it. I will provide complete affiliate marketing setup ready to make what? Right? So you have to mouse over, read more. It makes it so much harder for people to read. Whereas if I have a shorter title, of course, I'm missing out on keywords and I'm missing out on some other things, but it's clear and the value is clearly communicated. So that's one benefit. Now notice it says in every one of these, I will. I will is not part of the 80 characters. If I edit the gig title, like here I am in the dashboard of this gig, if I edit it, you see if I get rid of all of it, it says 0. But if I put it back, it says I used only 36 characters. So I can use way more characters, but the words I will, they actually appear there by default on Fiverr. What that means for you is the phrasing of your gig title has to account that they will say I will in front of it. So your sentence has to make sense like that together. That's an important thing and some mistake people get wrong every once in a while. Like for example, if I get rid of the word provide, and if the gig was just affiliate marketing coaching, which makes sense on its own as a title, but it doesn't make sense if it says, I will affiliate marketing coaching. Now that no longer makes sense. Consumers don't know that Fiverr puts the word I will in there as default. Now let's play around with this. If I take this title, let's try to see what I can do if I extend it. I can include a lot of keywords. For example, look how many keywords I added now. We'll start the gig title the same. I will provide affiliate marketing coaching for ClickBank, Amazon. ClickBank and Amazon, they're keywords. For passive income, that's a popular keyword. So you see, there's a huge amount of keywords. I didn't do it in this case. I just decided to keep my gig title short. And either way is okay. As you saw, it's ranking, it's making some sales. So it's not bad, but this just goes to show that you have options and either way is okay. Most likely, if I had thought about it a little more, I would sort of add the words passive income in there or try to do something like that, as long as Fiverr lets me do that, because sometimes Fiverr doesn't want you to put words like money or income or revenue in there, even though sometimes it's possible. So as long as Fiverr allows that, then passive income is a fantastic keyword, and maybe it would be equally as good to add that. Just the only thing, if your title will be long, like in this case, it would be just up to the 80 characters, then you want, when you create it, you want to make sure that even when it gets cut off, like here, my competitors, their titles got cut off. You want to make sure that before the cutoff happens, it's actually clear what the title actually says. Because this title, it doesn't make any English sense before it's cut off, right? It says, I will provide affiliate marketing setup ready to make, to make what? Probably they're talking about making money. And if I mouse over, they say multiple commissions. I would never have guessed that. So that's how you write the title. You want to have a combination of the best of both worlds. Just so that this video gives you good examples, let's talk about another example, not something that I made, but just something from other sellers. So I searched for WordPress website, or website WordPress, doesn't really matter because we're not buying these gigs, we're just looking at titles, and let's examine some titles. The first one is actually a good title. I will create a WordPress website, that's a keyword. Design, that's a keyword, or blog with SEO optimization. Now, there's a little bit of an English grammar issue in this title, but it has so many keywords like WordPress, website, design, blog, SEO optimization, that this is actually a pretty good title. And we're looking at only the title. We're not looking at the image. We're not looking at anything else, just the title. Now, this title, I will design, build. That's obviously for SEO because it doesn't make English sense. A responsive WordPress website by Divi theme, and then it gets cut off a little bit. So if we mouse over, it says Divi theme builder, and they have Divi theme, Divi builder. So I think they're trying to rank for the word Divi builder. Again, they're overdoing it on the keywords, and it's losing some punch in terms of being compelling, but obviously it's ranking here well, so they're doing fine with it. But sometimes you need less keywords and more attraction. Like these are, like this one, for example, I think if it was rewritten using 80 or 90% of still the same keywords, but just in a nicer way, I think good buyers would find that more appealing and more interesting and more trustworthy. Because part of these titles says that the freelancer doesn't have command of the English language, which is actually a part of the buying decision for a lot of buyers, because they'll have to communicate with the seller. And you actually want to show good command of professional language, because if you don't, the best buyers, the educated buyers who are more likely to be able to afford good services, they're going to get turned off. The only people who will look past grammar issues are unsophisticated, less educated, younger audiences, younger buyers, and they usually have less money to spend. Now, I don't want to generalize, but statistically, that is a true statement. So when you're creating your titles, keep in mind, you might be getting some buyers, but if they're like not the best buyers, or they seem to be all broke, or they seem to be just inexperienced, that's because maybe the best buyers are going somewhere else. And likely it's because maybe something in your title or description or image is turning the best buyers off. And that's actually hard to test, but it's really true very often. So my suggestion would be that yes, it's easy after a while to become good with keywords, as you're seeing these buyers are becoming good with keywords, but you also have to write a compelling title for people who are intelligent, because they make up the best buyers.
So in this session we are going to talk about Redis high availability. And Redis high availability is different than Redis replication. In Redis replication, what we have done is we had a master server, then we had n number of slave nodes, and whenever master goes down, you can connect to slave node to perform read-only operations. However, if you want to convert a slave node to a master node, you have to take some sort of manual action. Now, with the help of something called Redis Sentinel, this is a software which is bundled with the Redis software package. So Redis Sentinel is going to allow us, or going to provide us a mechanism using which we are going to automate basically the process of making a slave node to a master node whenever the existing master node is down. So now what is the requirement which you need to have in order to perform this Redis high availability? So one of the key things which you need to note is that you need to install Sentinel on minimum of 3 servers. Okay, now the reason why you need 3 servers on which you need to install Redis Sentinel is that there is something called quorum. Okay, so quorum configuration basically is the minimum number of Sentinel servers which needs to agree that a master node is down, and then it is going to convert one of the slave nodes to a master node. Okay, so quorum, basically Redis Sentinel is going to have an election process, and in that election process, majority of Redis Sentinels are going to decide that yes, master node is down and it is not reachable, and now this is the time they need to be promoting one of the slave nodes to a master node. Okay, so whatever number you provide in the quorum configuration, that is the minimum number of servers or Sentinel servers or Sentinel services which is going to be agreeing and going to perform this election of a new master server. The other thing to notice is that Sentinel runs on a default port of 26379. Okay, whereas Redis runs on a default port of 6379. Both of these ports can be changed from the configuration file. So if we remember, Redis configuration is stored in redis.conf file, and Sentinel configuration is stored in sentinel.conf file. Now both of these files are kept at the same directory, and also there is a called Redis-Sentinel utility which is also stored in the same directory where Redis-server utility is available. So you do not need a separate, downloading and installing of this Sentinel software. It comes bundled with the same software. The only thing is you need to start the services after doing the correct configuration. Now let's discuss about the working of these nodes. So now this Redis Sentinel, we are saying that we need to install it on minimum of 3 nodes. But those nodes do not need to be a completely separate server. Okay, that can be a same Redis server on which you can install Redis Sentinels. So in this example, you can see we have a master node and then we have 2 slave nodes, which is S1 and S2. Okay, and then we have Redis Sentinel 1, which is running on master node. Then we have Redis Sentinel 2, which is running on slave node 1. And then we have Redis Sentinel 3, which is running on slave node 2. Okay, and in this case, whenever master is going to get down, in that case you can see Redis Sentinel are going to decide that it is the time they need to elect and promote one of the slave nodes to a master, and in this case they have promoted slave node to a master node. Okay, and also when one of the slave nodes is converted to a master node, all the previous or any previous master node is going to be automatically changed to a slave node. So whenever this master node, which is M1, comes back, this is actually going to become a slave node. Okay, and this is going to become a slave node of this server, newly elected master server. So both of these are basically a slave node of this master server. Now there is something called down after milliseconds parameter, okay, which you see here, and this is the configuration which is done in sentinel.conf file. So down after milliseconds number tells Sentinel that this is the number of milliseconds Sentinel should wait after master is not able to reach. Okay, so whatever number you define here, that is the minimum number of times Sentinel is going to wait for master to come back up. If master is not able to connect for that number of time, then it is just going to start the election of a new master process. In our example, we are going to discuss about the same scenario. We are going to have 3 servers on which we are going to make the same setup, and we will see how all of these works. Okay, so now let's discuss about what are the different kind of setup which you can have, and what are the some of the advantages or disadvantages of all of those kind of scenarios. Let's try to see what are the issues which we can have and what is the mitigation. Now the first deployment type which is shown here is a deployment where we have only 2 Redis Sentinel running, Redis Sentinel 1 and Redis Sentinel 2. So this is the deployment which you should never do. It is never going to work. The reason being is because quorum is set to 2, and whenever this whenever let's say we have a problem with this server, and in that case M1 and RS1, both these services are going to get impacted. Both of these will not be available. So now Redis Sentinel 2 doesn't have the minimum number of Redis Sentinels available to perform the election process and convert this slave node to a master node. So that's the reason it is recommended that you never do this deployment. Okay, the only way when this setup is going to work is when there is the server on which Redis Sentinel 1 is running. Okay, that server somehow is available, and Redis Sentinel 1 is also available, and there is some impact only on the Redis master node. Let's say for some reason Redis master node service is not running, but that server is available and Redis Sentinel 1 is running and Redis Sentinel 2 is also running. That is the only scenario in which it is going to work, because in that case Redis Sentinel 1 and Redis Sentinel 2 are going to agree that yes, master is down, and it is going to promote slave to master node. Okay, because quorum is set to 2 and that's why if Redis Sentinel 1 and Redis Sentinel 2 both are available, then this process can work. However, in production, usually we know that this is very unlikely that you are going to have problem only with Redis and you are not going to have problem with Redis Sentinel whenever there is any problem on that server. Okay, so that's the reason this is the setup which is not recommended. Now let's discuss about another deployment. So in this deployment we have 3 sentinels, we have a master, and we have 2 replicas. And here quorum is set to 2, and this is a good approach if you have minimum of 3 servers. Okay, so when you have minimum of 3 servers, all you can do is you can set up one Redis Sentinel on each of the servers, and one of the server can become Redis Master, and remaining 2 servers are going to be slave 1 and slave 2. So in this case, whenever one node goes down, as we have seen, that in that case the other node is going to become master node. So let's say M1 was down and this is going to become a master node. However, let's say for some reason this master is in a different subnet and slave 1 and slave 2 is in a different subnet. Let's say IP of this begins with something like 10.0.0.* and then these 2 slave nodes are from a different subnet. So it starts with, let's say, something from 10.4.0.*. And for some reason you have issue between this subnet connecting to this subnet. Okay, so in this case what is going to happen is basically Redis Sentinel, whole of this block or set of users are not going to be able to connect to master node, even though the actual service or on the server is still up and running. Okay, in fact Redis Sentinel 1 is also running and Redis is also running on this server. However, since there is a network issue and network partition between between this subnet and this subnet, so Redis Sentinel 2 and Redis Sentinel 3 is basically going to agree that yes, they are not able to reach master, so they are going to convert this slave, one of the slaves, to a master, and then the other remaining previous master node is going to be turned into a slave node whenever that is available and going to join this network. So in this scenario, basically, let's say if we have a user which is user A, it is connected to directly to master node. So whenever it is performing all the write operation, that is going to be so since this master node is still a master node, it is going to allow all the write operations. But whenever this issue is resolved and all of these networks are able to connect to each other, since this master state has been changed to a slave node by Sentinel, so whenever it joins back the network, this M1 is going to be a slave of this new master, and whatever data which has been written by user A is going to get lost. Okay, because this slave will be trying to become in the same state which this new master is. However, this issue does have a mitigation. So there is something called minimum replicas to write configuration, which you can set to 1 in this case. So whenever you have a scenario like this, in this case, if user A is writing data to master will not be having any slaves. Okay, it will not be having any slaves to write or replicate its data to. And since we have set minimum replicas to write is 1, so master must have at least or minimum of 1 replicas where it needs to replicate its data to. And if it is not able to find that 1 replica, it is not going to allow any write operation. So user A, whenever it is trying to perform write operation, it is going to get error, and this is how user A is going to get aware that yes, there is some issue which is going on with the Redis server. However, user A still can successfully perform all the read operations. Now once you do this mitigation, there is again one more drawback, or one more drawback is basically that whenever both of the replicas are down, the master is not going to accept writes. Okay, so let's say when we have issue with S1 and S2 and both of them are not available, in that case master server is not going to allow any write operation. The reason being is because minimum replicas is set to 1. So again, whenever you are doing a setup in your production environment, you can assess these scenarios, that do you going to face any problem which can occur because of network partition. Probably you can try to make all the Redis nodes part of the same network partition. Again, different kind of issues can produce a different behavior, so always it is best you do a good testing before deploying your application in a production environment. Now let's discuss about another scenario. In this scenario, we have only 2 servers available for Redis. Okay, so we have made one Redis server to a master node, and then we have converted one Redis server to a slave node. Now in this scenario, you see we have not installed Redis Sentinel on Redis server. So rather what is done here is, there are set of 3 servers where application server or application is running. On those nodes, Redis Sentinels are installed. Okay, and these Redis Sentinels are still going to monitor master and slave nodes and going to work the same way which we have seen in this example. Now the issue which can come here is when you have this application server is totally disconnected with this master and slave node. So let's say for some reason when all of these is completely disconnected with master and slave, in that case you are going to have issues. And also for some reason, let's say if there is no connectivity between this application server and master server, then you won't be able to set up basically this kind of setup. Now let's discuss about another deployment scenario. In this scenario, it is assumed that on the application side also you have only 2 servers available. Okay, so when I'm saying application side, so basically this can be the servers where you have your, let's say, web application running or any application running which is going to connect to the Redis database. So in this case, we see we have only 2 servers available for applications and 2 servers are available for Redis database. So in this case, we have installed 4 sentinels. Okay, so we have one sentinel which is installed on application server, and then we have Redis Sentinel 2 which is also installed on application server. Then we have Redis Sentinel 3 which is installed on the same server where currently Redis Master is installed, and then we have Redis server or Redis Sentinel 4 which is installed on the same server where slave 1 is installed. And in this case, now since we have 4 sentinels available, so that's why minimum number of sentinels which needs to be agreed is set to 1, or I'm sorry, which is set to 3. So you can see here quorum is set to 3. And this is also a good approach if you have minimum of, basically you have minimum of 3 servers including your client server and Redis server. So by client server, what I mean here is the application server. So we somehow basically you need to achieve is that you need to have minimum of 3 servers available to install your Redis Sentinel. That is the precisely basically we are trying to say in all of the scenarios. Okay, in none of the scenarios we have seen a perfectly fine working model where we have less than 3 sentinels available. So that's it about Redis, high availability and Sentinel deployment. In next session, we are going to do a hands-on session where we are going to set up 3 servers, and on those servers we are going to set up a high availability using Sentinels.
In this video, let's go over how to write the description for your Fiverr gig. So when you edit or create your gig, right here on this tab, you have description and FAQ, and it's going to take you to your description. As you can see, you have up to 1,200 characters in which to write your description. What you want to do is establish your credibility, talk about the benefits of what people will get, and how the gig works. So let's go over it. First, I establish credibility. My name is Alex Gnedinik. The reason I use that is because some people will type that into Google and they will research me and they'll be like, this is impressive, right? They'll research who is this guy, Alex Gnedinik, because I do have a very good online presence. And I also talk about that I'm an SEO expert with 10 plus years experience. So that builds a lot of credibility. Then I explain how the gig works. So I'll spend 15, 30 or 60 minutes with a person on Skype and have a one-on-one session where we brainstorm and I help them create an effective SEO strategy, which is really good. And then for the next kind of 2 sentences or 2 paragraphs, I go on and talk about how exactly it works so there's no confusion. Then in the end, I finish it off with, together, we will examine your website and outline a search engine marketing strategy that will actually work to grow your business. That's the benefit. That's what they want at the end of the day. They don't really care about the details, the links, the content, the whatever. They just want to grow their business. And that's the promise. So these 3 elements should be present in your gig description. Of course, you see I have good use of white space. I break up the white space a lot so it's clear. And also the description is well written. If you struggle with grammar, you can have somebody help you proofread it. Or as you can see, I have Grammarly right here. Grammarly is a Chrome plugin, and I actually use Grammarly on my browser. It's a free download. It's a free browser extension that helps you with grammar. So if I make some mistake, it will actually let me know, and it will help you fix a lot of grammar issues. So immediately your writing will look more professional. Also, since you're already on this page, try to anticipate commonly asked questions, FAQ, and enter your commonly asked questions. It will appear on your Fiverr sales page, and if people have any doubts and you enter those doubts in the FAQ, they'll be a little more likely to buy. One thing I can do is add a call to action in the end. For example, it will look something like this. At the end, I might say, order my service today and let's grow your business. And maybe I'll make that bold. And that's pretty good. What I could also done is when I talked about the specific features, I could have done it like this. You see, instead of having a comma separated list, I created a bullet point list. So it's just going to be easier on the eyes for people. And I'll go and save that. And that's what you can do as well. Just have that similar structure. Don't forget credibility, clarity, call to action, and most importantly, the benefit people are after. And also make sure they understand how the service works, so there is no confusion when they buy it. In this video, I want to go over additional factors that help you increase your sales conversion rate and SEO. So this is what people see when they come to your sales page of your gig. Obviously, you have a video that's very important. Definitely create a video. Also, you have some images here that are used as a portfolio. Even if your gig doesn't make sense for a portfolio, you should add that when you create your gig, even if the images are random. People are not going to look through it if a portfolio doesn't make sense for a situation, but this will make your gig more complete on Fiverr, like in terms of how much of your gig descriptions you filled out. And the more you filled out, the better signal it is for them to promote you. Also, one thing right here, you see the little heart icon. You see how 604 people hearted this, they saved it. That's another minor ranking factor. It's minor, but a lot of people, what they do is like for like. So what people will do is they contact other Fiverr sellers on different Facebook groups. There's like even specific Facebook groups where people just do this. And all they do is they heart each other's gigs. And obviously the more hearts you have, the better it looks on Fiverr, and it helps you boost your gig just a tiny bit. Now, as you go down, of course, you have the description, and there's a lot about you and your packages that you sell and all that. There are these tabs you see on top, and as you scroll, like about the seller, compare packages, actually it will bring up the part of the page where people scroll, and you see obviously your past reviews are important, your other gigs are important, all that stuff. And when you get to the bottom here, you see that there's like a part of this page related tags. That's another source of keywords for your SEO that you can use on your gig. Like for example, Google traffic, keyword research, those will all be relevant for this gig. And it's good to create a FAQ. In my case, it's only one question, but you might create a couple of questions so that it's clear, because a lot of people will ask certain questions or have certain questions in their mind, and you want to just make sure you address those so that you quell those questions in their mind that may be preventing them from buying your service. And some people say that when you upload your video and when you upload your images that are supposed to be your portfolio or the gig image, make sure that the video and the portfolio files and images are titled with your SEO keyword. So when I uploaded this image, for example, the title was SEO.png. That was the title of the file. Now, does it help you rank higher? I'm not 100% sure of that, but it's so easy to just rename those files to have your keywords that you should just do it anyway, just in case. And most importantly, fill out everything inside your gig area in your dashboard. When you create a gig, fill out every possible field so that your gig looks most complete to Fiverr, and that will give you the highest chance to compete in SEO and also be highly converting. In this video, I want to show you an example of a common Fiverr strategy to increase your sales and the conversion rate of your gig, and through that to get your gig to rank higher. And that is to have something like this on your sales page: contact me before ordering, or contact me with any questions. And by the way, I don't know the seller. I'm just using this purely as an example. It's just the first time I've come around this person. I've happened to click on them. They had that, and that's what I wanted to show you. You'll see this sort of a thing a lot on Fiverr. The reason people do this is because when they message you, you can explain to them your service, and you can explain to them everything and answer their questions and convince them to buy your service. So it's actually going to help you boost your conversion rate. Obviously, that's going to immediately help you make more money just by having more sales. But secondarily, it will help you with your SEO, because you're earning more money, because you have a higher sales conversion rate through your gig. Because of all those factors, it's actually going to help the gig rank higher. And that's why a lot of people do this. Now, I don't do this. Why? Because I don't have time to sit and message back and forth with a lot of people. In my case, I just can't, because it's not my main business. But if you're starting out, or you really want to focus on growing Fiverr, and it's really important for you, you might want to put something like this, because it makes you more approachable, it makes you friendlier, and it helps you win a lot of clients over your competitors, because there's no service today that doesn't have competitors. To give you an example, I was actually ordering some service for myself as a buyer just yesterday, and I contacted 5 different sellers, just asking them some questions. Within an hour, all of them replied. So there's usually a very high reply rate. To make your reply rate high and to make you competitive with other sellers, you should get the Fiverr mobile app. From the Fiverr mobile app, you can answer messages immediately right away. So you'll always be competitive with other sellers. Just because all the people who replied to me, I started dealing with them first and I bought from them. And then people who replied even like 30 minutes late, I was like, I already bought something. It's too late. So it's very important to answer quickly. To get the Fiverr mobile app, all you have to do is, if you're on iPhone, you search for Fiverr in the App Store. And if you're on Android, I'll show you how to find it on Android, just because Android has a friendlier web interface. All you do is search for the word Fiverr. Obviously, the very first app that comes up is the Fiverr app. I have this installed, and it sends push notifications whenever I have a message. And so I can answer messages within moments, and then I'm competitive when people message me. Me personally, I try to keep the conversations brief. If you need the sales, answer as many questions in detailed manner as possible, and that will help you make more money immediately and boost SEO for your gigs. In this video, let's talk a little bit about branding yourself on Fiverr. People often ask, should I be an agency? Should I be myself? What should I be? Well, you are the freelancer, and the best freelancers are the ones who brand themselves. They're the expert. And if you have other gigs, make sure on all of them your face is there so that people recognize you. If they search for one gig, they saw you, they might see you again somewhere else later on Fiverr, maybe a week from then, or 2 weeks from then, and they might see you. And people often need a lot of touch points before they buy from you. You never know that, but a lot of marketing research suggests that people never buy your product or services from the first time. They need multiple points of contact with you. Research often shows 7 to 10, recently it's been showing more, before they actually engage or buy from you. So make sure they recognize you every time they see you, and you do this with just a photo of you that's clear. And especially if you're active on other platforms, YouTube, Udemy, Upwork, anywhere, mobile apps, podcast, anywhere. If you're active on anything online, make sure that the photos you use, the branding you use, the services you provide are consistent, so that when they see you on Fiverr, they recognize you. This happens to me all the time. Maybe about 20% of all the people who buy my Fiverr gigs are people who chose my gig over another seller because they recognized me before. Maybe they saw me on Udemy, maybe on YouTube, maybe somewhere else, maybe they read my book. Buyers tell me that all the time. So it's really important to have a clear photo of you. And regarding your name, you can have just your name or a name of your service. So for example, for my case, it would be my name is just my last name, or it could be my last name like underscore design if I was doing design, or SEO if I was doing SEO. The only problem with having the service name in the name is that in case I change, let's say I was design before, but now I changed to marketing, it would confuse the buyers. So if you think you need to be broad, then you want to just be your name. But if you're design and you're design your whole life and you're not changing that and you're pretty sure about it, then you want to stay Gynazdinik design. And if you have design in your name, that's actually much stronger branding, because if the service is literally in your name, that's so much stronger because it creates incredible immediate credibility, because people think, well, they specialize in design. It's in their name. So that's essentially Fiverr branding. A lot of the branding is also the social media networks you connect to Fiverr. If they show that you're an expert, great. If they don't show that you're an expert, okay, you got to clean up your social media a little bit, make it more professional. A lot of your branding is also the ratings you start getting and the reviews people start posting about you. That also speaks of your quality, and that's a part of your branding. So those are the most important things to keep in mind as far as branding goes on Fiverr, is that you're consistent across all your social networks, not just on Fiverr, and that it's all very recognizable across all of them. Many potential Fiverr sellers create an account, get excited, and then struggle, and they don't make a lot of progress, they don't sell a lot of gigs, and quit. And that happens to actually most people. So in this video, I want to explain to you what to do on day one so that you start building momentum, you do everything right, and you start making sales and grow and make progress. And beginning is always the hardest. It's going to be frustrating. You're going to have some failure. The sales are going to be slow. All the problems are going to be felt the worst at the beginning. You just have to get through it. And don't look at successful sellers and compare them to yourselves, because they probably struggled in the beginning as well, but they just have a lot of time advantage. So looking at successful sellers is the best way to make yourself feel bad about yourself. Don't look at it. Just look at your own progress. As long as you're doing everything right and every day you're doing something to improve your account, then you're on the right track. Persistence is key. Persistence will get you everywhere. So on day one, of course, you already understand you've got to create your 7 gigs, each targeting some different keywords. We already talked about that, but you have to do that. Then make sure you set your prices for each gig. At least the starter package should have the $5 option, so that it's easy for people to try your services, because your services are unproven. You don't have a lot of reviews. Then you need to start getting initial reviews. Most of the initial reviews, if you don't have an audience, like a lot of followers, a big email list, which most people don't have that, which is okay. But everybody has friends. You need to get initial reviews from friends and family to at least get a little bit of a boost in the rankings and at least a little bit of social proof, because a gig without ratings has very low purchase rate. Very few people give that a chance. So you need to put reviews on your gigs. You can ask friends and family to buy and try your gig. Now, there's a gray area strategy. Some people do it, some people don't like it. If you don't like it, you don't have to do this, but you can reimburse people the initial fee for buying your gig. You can just reimburse them, at least so they can try it, so there's no risk for them. And of course, you would do that with your friends. This is, of course, against terms of service, but a lot of people do this anyway, just because they need that little push. This is, of course, against terms of service on Fiverr, and of course, you can get your account penalized and banned. So this is controversial advice, but the truth is that a lot of people do this in the beginning just to push their gigs up, just to get a few reviews. Of course, don't do this long term, because it doesn't even make sense long term. You're just going to be losing money. So long term, it won't matter, because long term, your gig quality will be really the deciding factor. Because if buyers like your gig, they'll give it good ratings and your gig will rank in Fiverr. But if buyers don't like it, there's no amount of your own reviews that can save you. But in the beginning, you do have to get a little creative for how to get reviews, especially if you don't have your own audience. And friends and family, that's the best source. And usually people have hundreds of friends on social media, so it's not hard to get it if you try. Then you have to make sure that once you get initial clients, real clients, not your friends and family, but actual buyers, you need to get them and retain them by doing a great job so that they can buy more and more of your gigs. And whatever you do long term, like after day one, like week one, month one, and moving forward, you need to keep on pushing your gigs, promoting, so that they start ranking in Fiverr SEO. You're already well aware of the important factors for Fiverr SEO, and you just need to keep making sales, getting reviews, getting your average order sale up, boosting your gig conversion rate by making it look attractive. And that's the recipe from starting on day one to moving forward to be successful on Fiverr and not get frustrated and quit. Now, also, don't forget to make your gigs look attractive as possible. Nice video, nicely written description, FAQ section, filling out every section of the Fiverr gig setup, including portfolio, connecting your social media, writing a good bio, all those things, having very attractive thumbnails for your gigs. All those things you have to do before growth can start. So make sure that on day one, your gigs look very attractive, you did your SEO, and you start getting initial reviews. And then unless you chose a niche that is way too competitive, if you did choose a reasonable niche without tremendous competition and did your keywords right, then you should begin to start getting sales after having done all of these steps. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get reviews on your gigs on day one if you don't have your own audience to promote to, and if you don't want to approach your friends and family. What do? On Fiverr, you see on top here, you have this option for more, and then you have option for buyer requests. This is where we are now. In the buyer request, you see all the things buyers are asking for. They're posting sometimes strange requests, sometimes reasonable requests, and you can search actually here. You can search for like design, and you can find, if you're providing design services, you can find all design related things, or you can search by categories like SEO, web traffic, marketing strategy. So you can find a lot of people to potentially sell to and message them and see, hey, do you want me to work with you? And you'll have a little bit of a back and forth. If you see that it's going to work out, you can work with them. Now, don't send them a custom request like a custom offer. Don't do that. Send them your gig. Make sure they buy your gig because you want to build up reviews on your gig. Because more orders and more reviews on your gig actually will result in your gig ranking higher on Fiverr search. That's what you're really after. So it's not for the $25 or the $30 or whatever dollars people are offering. It's really so that you rank higher, because the whole goal is to rank highly so that you're constantly getting new orders from the ranking. Because approaching potential buyers is a little bit of an annoying sales process that is very time consuming, and it's not a fun thing to do. So you only want to do a minimal amount of this in the beginning. And just make sure that you can do the job really well that's being posted. If there's some job that you can only kind of do, don't apply there, because you might have an unhappy customer who might leave a bad review, and that's actually going to hurt, not help. So only apply to jobs that you think you can do really well and you're confident you can get good reviews. And then once you are confident you can get good reviews, you just click on send offer and engage with them and do the work for them. And that way you will build up your reviews even if you have no audience and don't want to sell to friends and family. So this is the way that Fiverr provides, where you can boost your initial profile if you're just getting started. In this video, I want to give you a really good strategy for how to rank your apps and also correct a small error I made in one of the other videos where I said if you give a custom offer, well, custom offers don't help because they don't help your gig. But that's actually wrong, because if you go to more and you go to promote yourself and then you can create a custom offer, you see there's a button right here, generate custom offer. From here, you can select the gig that you want to promote. You can select the price, whatever the price is, doesn't matter. But the main point is that people will be buying any gig you want to promote. So if you're specifically promoting some gig, you can create a custom offer for people on that gig so that when they buy it and when they review it, that's +1 review on this gig, that's plus extra revenue on this gig, meaning these are the metrics that are going to help you rank this gig higher. So this is the key, because you can get an unlimited number of sales this way, because remember, when you click more, you can find buyer requests. And these are all kinds of things that people are looking for right now. And if the gig that you're trying to promote fits the requests, you can create a custom order on the gig that you want to promote and send these people your custom order, meaning you can constantly keep getting sales if you spend a lot of time on it. Obviously, this is time consuming, but that's the idea, is that you can get extra additional orders on your gig by creating custom orders for these people. And with enough of that, you'll rank higher in the rankings. And also another strategy for this is if you want your friends to buy your gig and rate it, you can make a custom offer for them for like $5, even if your gig might be for $50 or $100 or more. You don't want your friends to buy it for that expensive because you want to make it easy for them. So if friends or clients who you know they're going to buy it, maybe they're going to give you a nice review, for them, you can create a custom offer. Then you go promote yourself and create a custom offer. And for them, you make it like $5. Right? So for them, you make it really cheap to buy so that you get an extra sale and you get an extra review from them. So those are the strategies to actually use custom offers to help you rank your gigs that you choose, whatever gigs you want. You'll be able to rank those gigs higher with this strategy. And the great thing about this is that this strategy is available to do starting on day one. In this video, I want to show you another marketing strategy for Fiverr, and it's when you go more, promote yourself, and you get to create your custom offer. You can do that. Before you do that, look, first of all, don't forget, you can actually have a badge like this. This is your seller badge. You can put it on your website. This is the code they give you. If you have a website, you can put your code there. If you don't have a website, obviously don't use this. But if you have a website where you are not concerned about promoting your Fiverr, it doesn't cheapen your brand, because sometimes people do see it like a cheaper place. So if it doesn't cheapen your brand, then if you're open to actively promoting, you can put your badge there. Of course, my picture here is not very good. I got to update that. But in any case, this is what you can put on your site. If you want to create a custom offer for your gigs, what's going to happen is when you create a custom offer, you can select any gig you want, and then give it a price. And because you're selling on your site, you can maybe charge higher prices. So you can make a custom offer, put it, and what's going to happen is when you create your custom offer, you're going to be able to get a snippet of code that you're going to be able to use to place on your site promoting an offer, and you can have the price right there. So that's something you can do also very early on in your Fiverr selling career to boost your gigs and promote your gigs and get more revenue. And even, this helps to convert people who are just browsing your site, because Fiverr handles the payment system, Fiverr handles all the other things. So this can actually be helpful to you in closing clients early on if you don't have a way to do that. It's a lot easier to sell to past clients than to find new ones, especially when you're early. So when you're early and you go to your orders page, that's what this page is. After orders, you land here, you go to your completed gigs, and you see all the people who bought from you, right? And you see all the people who bought and they gave you 5 stars. You see in my case, like a lot of people are doing that. Almost everybody's giving me 5 stars. What you want to do is reach out to them every once in a while and see, hey, do you need anything else? How's it going, right? Because you can literally click on them and have a conversation with them. Like, for example, you can click here. Once you're on their page, you can scroll down and you can click here to contact the buyer and write them a message, right? Very easy. And you just can check in on them and see how they're doing and if they need any help. If they don't need help, that's fine. Most people will not need help. Some people will not even reply to you because some people just, order something on Fiverr once and then they go away and then they just forget about Fiverr. But some people will say, oh yeah, I still need some help. And that way, you're not going to get a lot of orders from here, but also you're not going to miss out on potential new orders from clients who might have been happy with you, who can buy more from you. Maybe they're just forgetting, or maybe they got busy. So this is a way you would just remind them. And don't try to sell them anything too hard. Don't sell them any gigs right away. Just say, hey, are you still working on your business? Do you need help? And engage in the conversation. And if they do need help, then you suggest a gig to them. Because the one thing you don't want to do is copy paste the same message to everybody, because Fiverr will flag that as spam and they might actually put a warning on your account or block your account if you keep on sending the same message copy pasted to everybody. So don't copy paste message to everybody. Write them a unique message, ask them about their business. Obviously you've worked with them before, so you know what they're doing, and maybe some of them will become repeat clients. Of course, the biggest goal on Fiverr is to make a lot of money from one buyer over time. But a lot of people also ask, well, how can I make enough money now? How can I make enough money, let's say for a $5 order? How can I make it profitable? So there's some strategies for that, and that is delivering quick, already made digital products. Today, it's not permitted to sell digital products like courses on Fiverr, but you can sell PDFs and ebooks. You can create a gig that sells ebooks. Those gigs used to be much more effective. They're less effective now. So now the strategy is, if you have a lot of gigs, like 7 or 10 that you're allowed, or 20 if you're level 2, and you just don't have enough imagination, or just don't have enough services you can add, or don't have enough keywords, you don't have more keywords to target, you can add additional gigs that basically sell some PDFs. Those will have relatively low buying, but you might as well. Now, if you have maxed out your gigs and people are buying your gigs, the more common strategy today is to sell your PDFs as gig extras. So let me show you how that appears. When you're on a gig page and a potential buyer says, continue, let's say standard or whatever, $15, it doesn't matter. When they say continue, before they buy, Fiverr offers them to customize the package, and you can add gig extras. In the gig extras, let's take a look at what I do to boost this. I give away this 50 success skills. It's a checklist. It's basically a PDF, and I sell it for $10. And I sell my business plan book and my marketing plan book for an extra $5. So basically, this takes no extra time to deliver because I already have it saved on my computer. When I deliver the gig to buyers, all I do is just upload that book. It takes me an extra 30 seconds. And for that 30 seconds, I get this extra $5. Obviously, I only keep $4, but $4 for the 30 seconds, actually, it's pretty good. It's quite a good rate. And all these are, this is a PDF of a book, this is a PDF of a book, and this is also a PDF. That's it. There's something different in here. YouTube promotion. This is where I offer to promote people on YouTube. Actually, almost nobody buys this ever, but people buy the little ones all the time. Just because they're little add-ons, they're quick and easy. And as you level up, you get to offer more gig extras. So that's the way to quickly make a little extra money by providing PDFs. What kind of PDFs can you create? Ebooks, checklists, instruction manuals, tutorials, lists of resources. Like in 1 gig, for example, I offer for $5 a list of top websites where you can offer discounted offers that my buyers can go and promote their product. So maybe you can offer, here's like the top 10 Facebook groups for this, or here's the top 10 Facebook and LinkedIn group for this, or here are some tools, so list of tools. So there's a ton of things you can offer, and because it's $5, they can be pretty basic. Now, don't make it too basic, because if it's too basic, your buyers will get irritated and that will result in bad reviews. But definitely think of what kind of extra resources you can add for $5 or so, and that way you'll immediately increase your revenue on Fiverr from your already existing sales. And if you're not sure how to add gig extras, when you create your gig, this is in the gig editing area in your dashboard, under pricing, when you scroll down, you have these gig extras and you can add gig extras here. And the more you level up, the more gig extras you can add. So it's really that easy. You just add them here right under the basic packages you sell. Under that, you just add gig extras. So you see, I have it right here. Business plan book, $5. Very, very simple. In this video, I want to go over a script for how to close a gig. And I'm just going to give you an example. And in the next lecture, I'm going to give you the script as a text file, so you can just copy and paste this if you want. You don't have to use this exactly, but this is a good approximation for everything you have. Now, before you close the gig, you have to ask the buyer, can I close the gig? Are you happy? If they are not happy, find out why, make them happy. Because if they are not happy and they're going to give you a bad review, that's going to deter next people from buying your gigs. So you have to only get good reviews, and you stay with the customers until they're happy. Only if they are super unreasonable, then you just give them a refund. But you want to minimize your refunds. So the ideal thing is to make them happy and understand if they're not, why. But first, let's assume you've asked them already, are you happy? They said yes, you can close the gig. Now here's the script for how you can close the gig. Let's go over it together. First of all, you say thank you for your order. Of course, you say that. Then you give them instructions for how to get their order. In this case, I would say your order is attached. You would use this button to upload your work or however you deliver your order. So that's done right there. Then you want to explain to them that you want to have a long-term relationship with them, and also because you can help them later. They might not leave you a bad review in case they might get help from you later. So this line takes care of that. You would say, if you have questions in the future, feel welcome to reach out and I'll be happy to help. That gives them an idea. Oh, I got to maintain a good relationship with this seller, so I should leave them a nice review or I should keep them happy. Yeah, that's going to impact your ratings a little bit positively. The next thing you want to do is ask them for a review. Now, Fiverr doesn't allow you to ask explicitly for leaving a review, so you want to write something like this. If you found the gig helpful, please consider leaving feedback on it on Fiverr. So it's kind of like a little vague. It's not going to turn any flags on Fiverr. And you can say that really helps me. That's just kind of an extra touch on there. Then you want to upsell your next services. There are two ways to do that. I added them both here. The first one is the easy upsell, not too aggressive. That way you basically just say, also let me know what additional business challenges you are facing. I may be able to suggest additional gigs. So you're not upselling anything directly. And the more aggressive way to sell is to say, also, here's a service that might be also helpful to you as a next step. And you give them the next thing to buy. It really has to be a good next thing for them to buy. Like, it can't be some random gig that you just send to everybody. It has to be for that specific person. And this is actually how you create your 7 gigs, is if you think, well, one person who buys the first gig what do they want in the second gig. Like if you offer logo design, the next gig can be flyer design, the next gig can be business card design, and so on and so on. Or if you offer Facebook marketing, then next gig can be Twitter marketing, and next gig can be Instagram marketing, and so on and so on. But this is just a way that you would suggest the next step so that they buy more from you. Then you would do something like this. This is optional. Then you say, I'm attaching an extra freebie just to show my appreciation for ordering my services. It's a guide to help you further, whatever it is, in design or in marketing or whatever. Basically, you just give them an extra free PDF so they appreciate your work. It builds them liking you, which results in more orders, better reviews. Then you just say bye, you sign with your name. And then in the end, PS, if you're happy with the gig, please consider leaving a tip, since sellers on Fiverr don't make much. The part about sellers on Fiverr don't make much, you can keep that or leave it out. But this asks for a tip, you see? And tips are good because you immediately make more money. It increases your average order size. And you just have to let people know to leave a tip. If people know to leave a tip, they'll leave one more likely than not. But this is all predicated on the fact that they really had a fantastic experience with you. If they didn't have a fantastic experience with you, keep it light here. Just close the gig. Don't upsell too much, because if they didn't like it and you're upselling, that will irritate them further. So you do not want to do that. So those are the options for your script and how to write your script for closing the gigs to maximize your tips and to maximize more sales and to maximize good reviews. In this video, let's begin taking a look at how to make a lot more money than just the $5 or $15, which might be the initial purchase price. And the example we will use here is this local business marketing gig that I have here. It's a coaching gig on local business marketing, nothing special. And what you can do is use the gig description, which appears right here. When people land on the gig, the description appears right here. And we cover how to write the description in a different part of the course. I give you a script. What you can also do, what we don't cover in that video, is you can suggest to people what gig extras might work for them. And you can just say, hey, for another $200, I'm going to promote you on YouTube. And then the gig extras are things they see when they say, okay, I'm going to continue to this order. So they say order, continue this. So right now they only are going to spend $15. And of course, you can tell them all kinds of things for a little bit of money, like a little PDF book, a gig extra to deliver quickly. But that doesn't add a lot. It adds a little bit, sure, you'll take it. But look at this. The third and fourth option are a $200 option and a $150 option. It's something you can mention in your gig description, so they kind of already expect it. And it's good to have a balance of things that are easy things for people to add so that they can just add it, no brainer, a $5 thing. A lot of people don't even think twice about it. They just get it. But this $200 thing, make sure you offer them something they would really, really want, because they're not going to buy something for $200 unless they really think about it. But definitely have an option for them to spend more, because if they are spenders, if they're not frugal with their money, if they have a budget, they might just go for it, and it might increase your order quite a bit. In this case, it would be almost 10 times, right? Because they're buying the initial gig for $15, then they're ordering something for an extra $200 in addition to that. So you want to have that extra option for them to buy. Now, in my case, they rarely buy this, almost never. So what you would do is experiment with this every couple of months. If they're not buying your expensive gig extra, well, it's useless. So delete it, think of something else, or reduce the price. Maybe for $200 they're not buying, but for $75, maybe there will be some takers. And in case they don't buy these gig extras, which they might not, what you can do is when you close the gig or during the delivery of your gig, while you're working on the gig, you can mention to them, hey, I also have a service for $200. I can promote you on YouTube, or I can mention you in my blog. Are you interested in that? So you can still keep offering that to them, and you might no longer be able to sell it as a gig extra, but you can create a whole new extra gig. Like, what if this actually can be a gig on its own, YouTube interview? So you can upsell that next gig to those people, even if they don't necessarily initially buy that expensive gig extra. But definitely have a balance between cheaper and more expensive gig extras, so there are good options for them. And don't forget to remind them about the extra things they can get later as well. In this video, I want to introduce you to a strategy that I would call consumables, meaning people can consume it once and then they can consume it again and again and again and again. So it's going to maximize your revenue tremendously from the same client. So when you're creating gigs, you can create gigs that are just one-time gigs. People buy it one time and they can no longer buy it again. Maybe I'll build you a website. Okay, you build them a website and it's done. They don't need another website. I mean, they might need another website, but most people don't. But there's a lot of types of gigs that are potential repeat buy gigs. For example, here's my marketing strategy gig, right? It's a Skype business coaching call. So what happens? A person needs coaching this week. Next week, they have new problems. They can buy it again. Next week, they have more problems. They can buy it again. This can happen on an ongoing basis for a long time. The same thing if you're doing promotion. Let's say you have a gig about Twitter marketing. The same person can buy your gig like literally every day. The only thing you want to be careful of is if you do have good sales channels or good marketing channels, you don't want to fill it up with kind of crappy products that you want to sell from other beginner business people, because you will get a lot of very low quality offers on Fiverr. Like things people will want you to promote are really like low quality that you would often be embarrassed to show to your clients or traffic or your audience. So what you can do is like not be Twitter marketing overall, but like maybe Twitter marketing for baby products or Twitter marketing for food products. Then at least you know the people who will be buying your gig are only going to be sending you like food products or baby products or products in some niche, so that at least your Twitter audience will not be shocked. Like, why are you selling me sports supplies one day, the next day cooking supplies, the next day programming, like software engineering courses? Like, it won't be random. But the idea really is when you're thinking of your gigs, think of gigs that people can buy again and again and again, meaning consume again and again. Hence, it's called consumables. And as long as you're providing a good service, they're going to buy from you a lot. And what I usually do is, even though they might buy the first option cheaply, if they get a good service and they appreciate it and they do become regular clients and I am able to have a good working relationship with them and I communicate well with them, I just ask them, hey, do you mind not buying the basic one all the time? Can you get my standard gig or the premium one? Just because we know they appreciate the value, so you can get them to spend more each time and buy a lot of times. And so that's a way to easily maximize your revenue, but also it's a way to boost your Fiverr SEO ranking, because guess what? People are going to be buying more of your gig, leaving you more reviews. That same person is going to be buying more of your gig, leave you a review every time, leave you good reviews every time, because obviously they like you. And the total orders and the total amount of money that gig earns will be a lot. And that will actually help you in Fiverr SEO, which will get you a lot more orders. Not to mention that there's another strategy that we actually covered in this course a little bit, but I'll mention it again. And that is, for your next gigs, you can have something else that consumer might want. So yes, they might get your coaching gig again and again and again and again, right? But let's say a part of the coaching is creating a website. At some point, every entrepreneur needs a website. So one of the next gigs is, I'll create a website for you. Boom, extra $300 or extra $200. And I don't necessarily like creating websites, so I don't sell that. But if you like creating websites, you can definitely do that. And if a person is already getting good service from you and they like you, they will be buying more things from you because they don't want to jump freelancers. Most people, when they find a good freelancer, they want to do more work with that freelancer, because hiring and testing freelancers is very annoying and time-consuming process for buyers. And once they find a good freelancer, they want to really stay with them. And so that's where this consumable strategy is really good. And that's where the next gig upsell strategy is very good. So create your gigs so that they're all upsells of each other. And then it's not out of the question, like if one person maybe even buys like a basic gig for $15, but if over time they keep buying the standard or the premium gig of the same gig, and then maybe they try other gigs, it's not out of the question they'll get to $1,000 in spending over maybe a year or something. But you gotta align everything for things to work out that way, in a way that I explained in this video. In this video, let's go over additional Fiverr strategies that are very common, very powerful, but they are what you would consider in the gray area of Fiverr. So if you want to play completely by the rules, you don't want to take any risk, these might not be for you. But if you are curious or you don't mind because you're facing heavy competition on Fiverr and you need to do what you can to get ahead, then these strategies might be interesting to think about at least. So one thing people do is they give away extra freebies, extra like nice to haves, like maybe when they close the gig, extras, something that your customer didn't know they were going to get, but are pleasant surprises. With one caveat, it has your contact information. So it might be something that looks very innocent. Oh, here's a video on the top 5 tips for some topic that's related to the gig, or here's my blog post for top 5 tips for something related to this gig. And when the person goes to that video, they might get the video, and the video has to be good. But at the end of the video, it might say, hey, come to our website, or hey, buy this other thing. And so that way you kind of are selling more through that free content. And if the buyer actually clicks on some link that actually takes them to your blog or your website, you can run retargeting ads to them. If you're not familiar with what retargeting ads are, you've seen them a million times on the web. It's basically like, let's say you go to Amazon or any other big site and you left and you went to Facebook, and for some reason Facebook knows that you just went to Amazon and they know what product you looked at and they're serving you that ad. That's a retargeting ad, and it's enabled by when you visit some site, they put a cookie in your browser and you kind of tell Facebook ads or Google ads that, hey, we can retarget them. And you can set something up like that yourself. Obviously, you'd have to learn how to do that. This is not a course about retargeting ads, but it becomes possible when people visit your site. And in Fiverr, it's not allowed to give people personal contact information. This is where it's a gray area. You're not allowed to give contact information. And if you get caught, you're going to have very bad consequences. So be very careful. They have very specific rules, and you should read Fiverr terms of service and all their policies. But a lot of people still do this. Also, when you're giving extra freebies, when you're running the retargeting ads, you can start selling products off of Fiverr, because the idea, again, it's a gray area idea. It's not 100% ethical. It's not 100% within Fiverr terms of service, but the idea really is that to take that client and take them off of Fiverr and make them your own client. Because first of all, Fiverr takes a 20% cut. They actually take more than that because they have an extra fee that people have to buy even before they order. So if you sell to clients off of Fiverr, you'll immediately make things cheaper for clients, and you'll be able to keep 100% of your revenue instead of 80% of your revenue. So there's all these benefits, not to mention that when you get clients' contact information, it's easier for you to sell next things to them. So there's a ton of benefits for getting them off of Fiverr and onto becoming just purely directly your client. And it's also easier to sell affiliate products. Now, let me explain how that works. Let's say that I'm promoting my business coaching on Fiverr, and I'm staying on Fiverr and everything is within rules. But at some point, that person who I'm coaching needs a website. And to get a website, they need a design, they need a freelancer who's not me, and they need hosting. So at some point, I can say to this coaching client, I can say, here's my affiliate link to the hosting service. So at some point when I'm coaching my client, I can tell them, oh, you need a website now, and it makes sense for you to start buying hosting. Here's my affiliate link to get the hosting. And so I get paid when they buy the hosting. The same thing happens when they need web design services. I partner with some service providers, like people who create websites, and I refer my clients to those services, and I get a commission from those service providers. So if you manage to keep your clients with you long term, whether it's on Fiverr or whether you take them off Fiverr, if they stay with you long term, eventually they will need products and services that you cannot offer, or maybe you don't want to offer. Some products or services you could offer, but maybe they're boring to do, you don't have the time. So instead of saying, I can't do it, you just refer people out to affiliate products, some affiliate programs you sign up that make sense for your clients, or to service providers that you partner with ahead of time that know, okay, like they need to give you a commission, and they might give you a commission through PayPal or something. So those are all the other ways to first get people off Fiverr and become your clients, but also second, to maximize your revenue through selling affiliate products and referrals. And it's a little bit of a gray area of which affiliate products you can sell on Fiverr and in what ways. So it's much easier to do it if you've gotten people off Fiverr and onto your own communication channels, so that you don't have to worry about Fiverr catching you promoting affiliate things on Fiverr. So while you're on Fiverr, you want to be careful. But if you get people off Fiverr to become your clients, then you can sell them anything you want and there's no repercussions. So again, it's a little bit of a gray area, but a lot of people ask, give me the extra tips. But these are really the extra tips for if you want to maximize revenue without doing a lot more, sell affiliate products and promote other services for referral. And of course, by getting people onto your site instead of Fiverr, you'll be able to at least capture 100% of the revenue instead of 80% of the revenue. But again, I don't recommend it necessarily to everybody because it's a gray area. It's just important you know about it. It's important you think about it. I'm not saying you should do it.